My name is Joey Lose, and I live in Hermann, Missouri. I've lived here for the past 11 years. I was actually born and raised in St. Louis, in Webster Groves, where my family had lived for 4 generations. So my family still lives there, actually, in Webster Groves. And prior to coming to Hermann, I lived in Dutzow, Missouri, and also in the Netherlands for 4 years. Well, I have a very long and varied educational background, actually. As I said, I grew up in Webster Groves, and I started at Webster Schools, and then my first year of high school, which was in 1982, my mother found out about the desegregation program, so she had the courage to send me to a magnet school, which was really exciting for me because Webster had really good schools, but you know, it was Webster Groves, and I had grown up there, and I knew the same people all the time. And the magnet schools just gave me the opportunity to do something completely new and to find out about public transportation and to meet people from all different walks of life and people that I would have never met otherwise. And it really instilled a lot of confidence and self-initiative, and I was always kind of a busy student. Not really very good academically, but very enthusiastic. So after I graduated from high school, I tried going straight to college, and that didn't really work out. So after my first year of drinking and binging and not studying at all, I said, well, this isn't really working out. So I quit full-time college at Lindenwood and started at the community college while working part-time at various jobs. And I went to St. Louis Community College for a while, and then I got married and lived in the Netherlands and went to art school in the Netherlands for 4 years. And I came back from the Netherlands and still didn't have my degree. Worked as an organic vegetable farmer for a few years, always taking 1 or 2 classes here and there, and finally finished up my bachelor's degree after 18 years at the University of Missouri in Columbia. So after 18 years of studying at several different schools, I ended up with a Bachelor of Fine Arts at the University of Missouri in Columbia. And that was in 2001. Let's see, I would say art to me is a way of studying things and then being able to explain them to another person so that they can see what you have seen yourself. So I think to me art is a language. It's a language that you teach yourself and can speak eloquently. I do welded steel sculptures primarily, although I also do some painting. But my welded steel sculptures are also mostly always painted because I have found that that's a good niche for me. Most sculptors that work in welded steel come from a background of doing metal fabrication and have worked for years and years as actual welders, whereas my background is more an eclectic background, which has no formal training in steel, so I'm kind of a self-taught welder almost, although I did take a 1-semester class at the community college in welding. So I would say that my work is a little primitive, colorful, energetic, and organic. When I was a kid growing up, my dad sold welding supplies, so he did welding in the basement. So I kind of knew about welding, and I always thought of it as something really dangerous and dirty to get into, and so I resisted. I had the opportunity to take a welding class when I was an art student in the Netherlands, and I didn't do it because I thought, oh, it's going to be too expensive, and you have to buy all that equipment and everything. So I worked for a while as an organic vegetable farmer, and we were always taking things to the welding shop. And so finally, one winter, I said, well, I'll just take a welding class at the community college and see if I do enjoy it. And I found I really, really did enjoy it. I never actually finished that class, but I did get into welding, and I found I could purchase some secondhand welding equipment at auction inexpensively. And actually, I'm still using that equipment now, 12 years later. So after an initial investment of about $100, here I am making my living as a metal sculptor. So it kind of came to me just I don't know. It was just meant to be. Once I started it, I found I really did love it, and the material was not as expensive as I thought, and the equipment wasn't expensive, and gradually, of course, I've added more equipment than an initial $100 arc welder. But so my primary tools that I use are the arc welder, which I still love and use more than anything, and I also have a plasma cutter, which is my main cutting tool. I have an oxyacetylene torch for bending and cutting, and a wire feed welder, which is a more modern form of welding equipment. It's really a lot cleaner and easier to use, but I'm just in the habit of using the arc welder, so that's my main tool. I like to do, I've always loved fairy tales and storytelling, and I'm involved in the theater a lot, so I try to make my work somehow meaningful. All my years of art school training, of course, have kind of focused me on, well, you have to think about every aspect of your work, and why did you choose this material, and why have you chosen those colors, and what is the meaning behind this work, you know. So I think that's what also gives my welded steel sculptures a little more depth than some other metal sculptures that you might see, because as I said, a lot of welded steel sculptors come from a background of metal fabrication, and I come more from a background of art school training. So some of my work, for example, is inspired by fairy tales, and I do like my version of the fairy tales in steel, and I'd always have some kind of story behind it. Even though the story is maybe not obvious to the person looking at it until I explain it to them. But once I explain it to them, then they can see, oh yeah, I can see what you mean there. And so I like that. I like to have little different layers of meaning in my sculptures that different people can relate to. Yes, I do commissioned work, and yeah, I love to do commissioned work because those are the pieces that I can really have more interaction with my clients, and I can really work with the client and develop a site-specific piece. And the way I do my commissions is a person will contact me, and sometimes they've purchased art before and sometimes not, and I'll try and find out from them what it is that they want. Sometimes they have no idea what they want, so I have them send me some photographs or drawings, something they've seen, or just photographs of an idea, and then I do sketches for them. I'll send the person the drawings, and once we've come up with a design, then I can go ahead and start on the piece. So it's always a long-term process, these commissioned pieces, and so far I haven't had any clients disappointed in the final work. They've all been quite happy with it, and it's given me the opportunity to do some pieces that I had in mind for many years and not had the opportunity to do. So I love doing commissioned pieces. Well, I started working with a couple of apprentices. They had come to me last year and asked if they could take art lessons, and I never did get back in touch with them. And then finally they came back again and said, no, we really want to take art classes from you. And it's two girls, they're 13 years old, and I agreed to teach them art lessons in exchange for working for projects, because they didn't have any money to pay me, and I was kind of wanting to have someone to help me out with some projects. So that's something that I'm really excited about right now, is the possibility of setting up part-time jobs for kids in arts. And I'd like to eventually have them trained so that they could put together an after-school arts cooperative or something, where I could come up with designs, or we could come up with designs together that the kids could actually manufacture and sell to earn their money, instead of having to go get a job at Leonardson Samples or Hardee's or whatever the various part-time jobs there are that are available for kids. So I'm really excited with the idea of working with the apprentices and developing art projects for them that they can do and make money as an artist. I found it to be successful for me, and I enjoy it because I get to do what I want to do and choose my own hours and meet lots of interesting people and challenge myself to try new things, and I'd like to open up that opportunity for them as well.